What is going on there, everyone, and welcome back to Dracon's channel here. Now, as you can see, we have this lovely product here we're going to be reviewing today, and this, if you did not know, is from Steamforged Games. This is the Dark Souls role-playing game. This is a board game I've noticed for a while, and if you've played Dark Souls, we all know these guys are kind of terrifying. This is I like to call him the crawling knight because he runs around on three legs with a sword up. And then we got what I like to call the Big X Knight. These are just my own personal names. I know they have real names in the game. If you remember what they are, because I don't ever remember them off the top of my head. The brain just can't seem to remember. But we got two lovely minis here. Now, both of them are big boys. And I will do some size comparison of them to some other miniatures just for kind of flavor. Some different brands to show like what their sizing is. So their scale is definitely not equal to D&D unless maybe they are in the game. I can't remember how big they were compared to the player. But you may have also noticed one more thing too. These are normally gray miniatures. Just give me 1 second. Sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure I turn them around there. And as you can see, this is what they actually look like. Now you notice mine are different. We have the Outrider Knight and the Winged Knight. See, I don't know why it is. Unless I read it, I just never remember what they're called. Now, these guys are on, I believe, a 30 millimeter base and a 25, or is that a 35? Well, my reading is off. Hold on, let me check what's... Okay, so yeah, that is a 30 millimeter base for the Outrider Knight and 25 millimeter base for the Winged Knight. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. But those bases, as you saw from the first image, they are not 25 and 30 millimeter. These things are bigger than a 50 millimeter base and way bigger than a 25 millimeter base. So, yeah, I'm not really sure why they did that wrong. I'm not sure if that's wrong or maybe I'm not looking into this right. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. If you know more about this board game than I do, you go for it. I mean, I got these guys because I needed two big bruiser level knights for a dungeon crawl I was running with my friends. Ergo, this is why the Dice and Dummies, were doing a dungeon crawl on the side before session 3, which we have started, by the way. We are live streaming like every week, Fridays and Saturdays, one of the 2 days. Usually around 7 o'clock as we try to shoot for. So if you guys want to tune in, do that. We have been having pretty good time so far. Now, also it is live, so you can ask questions if you guys want a really question answered really badly or something recapped. We can always maybe accommodate that. So it does show on the back here. We got the whole ages 14 up, I believe. I remembered reading on it. Talks about verified product stuff, SFG for Steamforged Games. So we got these Dread Knights of Renown, and they're pretty cool looking. They were really good for bruisers. So let me just open the box. The sort of opening wants to open it again. So let's do this. Okay, so here we have the Winged Knight. He's on my turntable there, and as you can see, he looks pretty good. Now, this, as you can see, is not a pre-painted miniature, but he is painted. So you're like, how is that possible? Let me explain. So like I said earlier, my group, the Dice and Dummies, we were doing a podcast, or we were kind of having a wind down dungeon crawl, and I ran that. And they were in a prison situation where they had to fight the big bad. The big bad summoned two terrifying knights, and I did remember my buddy said a game that he always was very adamant to play was Dark Souls because it was just so frustrating. So, of course, when I found these guys on Amazon for a pretty good deal at the time, I think they were only like $20, which is not bad. I don't know, I was like, holy crap, for two big minis that are this nice and quality, because my paint job definitely brought out the quality in them. Their bland paint, or like their pre-painted form, it had more to be desired. This, though, shows off their sculpt. Like, I used a lovely Newland oil for the wash on this. Normally, I would have used my Iron Painter wash, but I still have some Newland lying around. This is before Citadel went and blew the freaking recipe out of the water, so I'm using what I got left before I get back to using my Iron Painter. And these are done with just simple metal, simple colors. I didn't want them to stand out too much. Yes, I did give the wings a little bit more of a shinier wing. That was more just because I felt it needed it. It made it better. The axe, on the other hand, I always felt it's just a big, rough axe. So I took a little bit from the game's inspiration, like a little bit of this like dark look to them. I wanted them to stay grungy. I avoided bright colors because I wanted a grunge. That's why the Newland oil did a great job at like actually reducing the wings' silvery look to them. because I actually used like paint markers on those, and those worked really well. Those things are, I keep forgetting how amazing those can be assisting. And I use a little bronze, stuff like that. I didn't paint the base at all, just because like I wanted the base to keep this kind of weird grayish look it's got going on, because it'd work in a dungeon. It won't like take away from gray dungeon tiles too much, so it'll blend better. So I have my reasons for Manus. But here he is, fully painted. I know, unfortunately, I didn't take a shot of them when I opened them the first time before I get them quickly painted. And these are quick paint jobs too, so I'm kind of getting. I'm not trying to, boast myself, but I was actually impressed that I did this well in a quick, literally like a couple hours to get these two guys shot out. I felt really proud of myself that I could get them done that fast and get them well detailed as they did. Now let's switch over to the other one, then we'll do some comparisons and talk about whether they worked for the situation or something like that. Now here we have my kind of more favorite. This is I always call him the crawling knight. I don't know why. It just works. Like, I just imagine this guy kind of crawling across the battlefield or lunging forward like an animal. Now, as you can see with his paint job, unlike the other, he didn't have a lot of cloth around. And I tried to avoid giving him like a lot of fleshy spots. So I tried to basically just making him a big metal jumper. He reminded, like, I got the idea from like the hunter from Left 4 Dead with this, like, it's just a metal guy that you were first like, oh, he's kind of moving slow because he's crawling, but then he lunges forward with this lovely large, grungy silver sword. His red mask now glowing in your face as he then slashes or stabs your character with his big blade. I gotta say, I really do like it. Like, these Dark Soul miniatures from Steamforge look beautiful. I had to say, they look good. I wish the basing there was a little more accurate because, like, they work for he works for a huge guy because you got to remember he's crouched over. But the other one I wish was on a more of a large base because like his axe is what gives him that extra range. But I bet he's also probably really heavy. It's a really cool miniature though. I got to say, it's cool. So it's not bad. Now, let's get them both back up here and we'll do some comparisons. Now we've got some lovely rotations. Now I'll actually give the paint job for this one. Once again, I actually did use a lot of gunmetal because I didn't want rough iron. I didn't want them being so dark that, like, all detail, you couldn't get a nice little sheen on it. Because you can see when the light's hitting those folds, it gives them a lot of detail poke. Like, it lets them poke out, and you're like, ooh, like, hey. And you kind of look at it, and you're like, you kind of want to look around him and kind of see all the different details. Now, his cloak, I kind of should have made it green to match his buddy, but then I was like, nah, I'll make it necromancer. Why not? And then I kind of, after I got him all sealed up, I was like, man, that necromancer's a little darker, like a little bit washy, like it kind of blends in. And my players were really quick to say, why is he wearing only a loincloth? And I said, oh god, I should have just made gunmetal and called it a day. But, I don't hate my decisions. I think it looks good the way it does. If you guys think it looks great or not, say so in the comments down below. I always love to hear back from you guys. Now, I do love how, my friends actually did make a good point. Why didn't I give like the back of the mask like a cloth feature of skin? And I said to him, because then you would aim for it and you kill him. And we actually do have rules in our game about how to aim for certain body parts stuff. And I'm like, I don't want your AC to be basically, you have to get in this thing's range to get to the neck, because none of them had distance weaponry. They were all pretty much like straight on or they used magic. One of the two things. And since most of my group were fighters and rogues, like, it was really hard for them to do that. Actually, even my druid decided to use her wild shape to transform into a cat and just wreck shop for a while. As well as, like, my group had a dinosaur. Like, they found a dinosaur from a cage and a equiseph, which, if you don't know what an equiseph is, old school monster. But, really awesome creature. So let's get these guys for some comparisons, just so we can see how they stack up next to other miniatures from a couple different brands, whether unpainted, to 3D printed, to Wildspire, to Simone Gaming, that kind of stuff. So let's get going, shall we? Okay, so here we go with them sitting next to a lovely Gorgon. This is actually a Gorgon I painted myself. Sorry, I just want to change his stance. But yeah, so this was basically him compared next to the Gorgon from the unpainted D&D line, which, I gotta say, I did really well painting this Gorgon. I even got the lovely green smoke off the nose. And you can see they really are similar in his size. And Gorgons, being these giant metallic bull monsters, they already kind of push the limits of large. As you can see, he kind of just fits on his base. Now, the Winged Knight, I think, would have definitely looked... Sorry, I just realized I remembered his name. I just don't remember the Crawling Knight, but whatever. The Winged Knight, yes, he should be a large creature. I kind of ran him as large. I didn't make him huge. but I gave him like his weapon since he is using a large halberd-esque axe, kind of more of the polearm stats where it gets out there for extra range from his actual distance. So I kind of used the like if you were next to his, if you were like in the square right next to his space, he could hit you. I went with that kind of idea because I could feel like he could chalk up on the swing there, get a good arc going. Granted, this is why he really didn't have a lot of movements in the game. Because of his big bulk and his size and his weapon, I didn't give him a lot of actions. Like, he couldn't move that fast, but I did give him like a wing ability. So, like, if he had to get around a little quick, they were fighting on like an arena. So, other words, it was into the old precipice. My group actually was smart, and they actually surprised me. So in our dungeon crawl, my characters, who was a fighter and a barbarian, I believe. I can't remember which was which off the top of my head. I think, oh, sorry. Yeah, my Dragonborn, I think she was a fighter, and the barbarian was my my Goliath. Shocking. Yeah, Greg the barbarian Goliath. Lord, I forgot my buddy, this guy really did that. Anyway, so they ran forward. They used their size and power with the assistance of the allies they have made throughout getting out of the dungeon. And it ended a little earlier than I wanted. I wanted to add one more episode giving them more minions, but then I was like, I kind of weighed my options of what I had the ending, and I was like, oh, let's not. So, like I said, though, yeah, they fought these guys on a giant precipice. Okay, and now I've got these switched up so that you are looking at them compared to one of the lovely miniatures from the lovely war game. I call it like the Sworded Earth Elemental because he's this giant rock man with swords. He comes from that lovely, I think it's Rune Wars, I believe, if I remember correctly the name of the game. I haven't looked at the box in a while. I still have miniatures from there that are not done in the box of shame, or my drawers of shame. But this guy, I forgot I even had him for a good comparison. I was like, yeah, he really looks like they would be in his size category. So either of them could be large with a huge level of, distance to hit. But that's how I kind of pulled it with these guys. They weren't exactly huge, like they were on a precipice where they could fight huge creatures, but they were more like large size. And as you can see, they do work great with scale for Rune Wars. Their bases obviously are really big. You could rebase them. I didn't, just because I couldn't remember if I didn't want to risk breaking them, because I didn't know how these bases were going to break if I accidentally pulled them apart with my strength, because I'm a strong guy. I'm like, I don't want to ruin them and wreck them. And then immediately go but granted, if you can see here, this plastic is forgiving. It is a little bendy. It's soft. Like I said, it's just this base. Like, that base is so clickety-clacky, I got scared that I'd break them. And then I'd have to, break all the pieces of the base off, flatten the feet, or whatever, to make them stand on a base. And I'm like, I'm going to have to craft something to make his hand for the crawling knight there stay on the base. A lot of work. But yeah, you can see next to Rune War minis, they do sit pretty well on a board next to them. Let's bring up some more character or other comparisons here. So here they are next to the, I like to call these the Colossus. If anyone remembers, it's that weird phone game they had made that had these large miniatures on it. They were all on these weird, I want to call them oval pill bases because they look like giant pills from above. But, we've seen these with Warhammer and stuff like that, those long little ovular-esque bases, because they weren't full ovular. They had this weird... Anyway, we're not going to get that. But yeah, I rebased him. I repainted him a little, touched him up a little bit, gave him this lovely forest pattern. Because this is a nice, I call this the Boulder Fist Elemental now. I don't remember what his name was in the game, but I decided to call him that. And now he is what I wish they were on, large bases. Because you can see, he's a bit big, but he still works for a large creature. Plus, I don't want a character getting a huge creature that's super terrifying. Now, this is a siege elemental, just so you know. I don't know if I ever said it back when I put him on Twitter, but yeah, this is a siege elemental. And, yeah. So, I mean, he works with them, too. It'd be cool if you wanted to, say, maybe they're invading a forest and cutting down the trees with his axe, and he's just a guard for him, while they're in the forest, and then they go into battle with this thing. Stuff like those type of things. Great for it. But let's compare to some little guys, though, shall we? Something that's not so big, because right now we haven't even got to many of the Whiz Kids stuff, or maybe old stuff. Okay, so here we have them sitting next to a Goliath barbarian, I think he is, or a fighter with his hammer. I know he's got a little bendy weapon syndrome. And then we also got him next to my lovely character from my Onslaught video, one of the humanoid characters. If you guys want to check out that video, please do so on my channel. That was, I believe, my last video to this one. Should be the second newest video based from this one. Of course, by my order. But anyway. So, yeah, you see, they're pretty big guys. They are definitely like ogre-sized creatures. Now, the only reason I don't hate the crawling knight so much is because if you think about it, if he stood up, yeah, he'd probably be just in like the hill giant size category. Like, he'd be as tall as a hill giant. Because he's actually almost as tall as his wing knight buddy there. However, the wing knight is standing up, pretty much as high as he's going to get. This guy is like half his size because he's on the ground. And he's crouched his legs. Like, he would definitely be tall enough to be in the huge size. So he's size good. I just wish the wing knight had a 50 millimeter base. Or even something just smaller. Because it needed to be smaller. I can always work with like a little bit of a bulkier base. But I just wish it was smaller. Because he's not huge. He's not Baylor size. He's not big enough to fight them. Big enough to fight attack giants and stuff and bigger creatures. But he's not like, he's not on their level exactly. He fights up. Like, he punches up, not down. Anyway, let's compare him to some other creatures, because I wanted to keep comparing. Okay, so here we have them sitting next to a water bucket, or the bathtub mimic from the Fizban's Treasury of Dragons set, which I was glad I got him. And then we also got him next to the, I call this the saddleback lizard, because he's got all these saddles on his back and all the stuff like that. Or I call him actually, sorry, what do I call this thing? I forgot what I named him, when I put him on Twitter. I call him I think it was the bundle lizard or something. Like a bundle back. Because he's just like, he's got all these bags. You could ride on him in a group. He's like a smaller, large creature. He's just a big lizard. And I think, they definitely dwarf them. So, yeah, it's really good that, they stand up, but they also could look like they could work well with these miniatures and not overblow their proportions. Okay, so here we have them next to my carrion crawler, which is one of my favorite unpainted jobs I did, because I love that I went with the more classical green look for a carrion crawler. And then we have next to a very old school metal miniature. Now, I don't remember if this is Relparth or not. It probably is, but it's like an old Drake from one of the old ones. I kind of could use him as a dinosaur fill-in or something like that. But you can see, honestly, they fit in good. Their scaling is not bad. It still, once again, fits good. Even with more, kind of goofier creatures like the carrion crawler in them, it works good. But let's compare them to some, large, more humanoid-esque, or at least more intelligent creatures. Okay, so as stated, here they are next to my Simone Mini. I call him Simone because the name is like Cool Mini or not. And this is from the Rising Sun expansion. This is my Drider Mini. Now, I actually gave her, a little bit of some flocky on her base just because it's grass. I mean, I didn't want to make it too crazy because I wanted her to be the focus. She's got a little bit more like the beauty sculpt. She's not some gray, disgusting creature. She's got the 4 arms, spider bottom. I kind of gave her more like the sort of Black Widow, but a little bit of like a blood red spider because I just thought it cool to go off against the green with a slight little bit of the light blue and the purples. You can see she looks pretty good. Next to them, they're in her size range. So the Wing Knight, I really might have to rebase this guy. I don't want to, because sometimes I like keeping original bases. Like that Cool Mini right there is on its original base. Makes it work. Okay, let's get to the last comparison I want to do. We're going to compare it to an old one and a resin miniature. Okay, so here we have them next to the one of the farther left of the center there. We have them next to my Ceratosaurus Mini. That's a resin miniature I actually ordered. I didn't print it. That was before I did my own printing of miniatures. And then we have on the center right there, we actually have one of those old school, oh man, what was it called? I cannot remember the name of the game off the top of my head. But it was another one from back in the day when Hasbro did them, like those fantasy minis. Man, I can't remember the name. If you guys remember the name of them, because you probably recognize it. This is those minis I did review once, and this has been remade, so it works with D&D. It is a lizard man riding on a giant snake, like a giant serpent for a large class mounted opponent. And these things would all work in the same universe. Granted, the old school stuff has that more grunge look to it, which, man, every time I look at these old minis, I miss the grunge look. I miss the aggressive, almost grimdark-esque look it had going. Because, I mean, that snake guy, man, that snake and that lizard man riding on the back, yeah, the lizard man looks a little goofy, but, God, that giant snake, I mean, honestly, that's a good giant snake model. I mean, I'd be tempted to just pop the lizard man off and keep him as a sprue piece to put on the back of something else, just to have a giant snake that cool looking. But yeah, you see, they fit in great. There's nothing wrong. I could see them working with any game. Even if you wanted to put them into like, well, you gotta go fantasy-esque. So I'd say Age of Sigmar for Warhammer. I see no reason, since these guys were dwarf space marines, and they are bigger than like Eternals, which I just thought I had Eternals. I should have grabbed them out of my mini cases and put them up here for comparison. My bad, guys. I forgot about Warhammer. But, you know, I'm not giving Games Workshop satisfaction of saying their stuff's great because it's so expensive for what it is. I know. I gotta stop my personal biases. But, yeah, these guys would work for Age of Sigmar as some super heavy Night Lords or Chaos Knights that have been infected and now they're bulked up and supersized due to the Chaos power. But, yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to compare them to. And, I mean, they look good. I mean, honestly, these things are good. Steamforge, you did well on these Dark Souls. I will probably buy more. I'm going to wait till they're on sale because some of them are pretty high expensive. And they do have some big, really gnarly, dark, grimdark monsters. Like, I'm saying if you want grimdark to slap on as a boss or something for, like, a Warhammer table, like, maybe it's the objective. It's like a monster objective where two groups are trying to get to the enemy first and kill it in the name of the Imperium, or the demons want to capture it by taking it down and then corrupting it into a demon. Like, what is it called? The Gaping Maw Dragon, I think, from Dark Souls. That would be something that I think that if Chaos didn't make, they would want to corrupt and control it and take it into their side. So maybe that's how you could have a Eternals and the Imperium of Man, or the Lizard Folk, the Seraphims, or the Eldars, charging in to try and take it down first so they can't use it. Some danger beast that's left on the planet and they want to use it as their weapon, you know. Who doesn't want a good, lovely war beast? But, you know, I'm getting off topic. I'll go on forever if I don't stop myself. My little alert that I had for keep me on track started going off. So anyway, guys, that is all I've got for you today. I thank you if you come this far in the video. You all make this worth the effort so you can all enjoy. If you have any questions, go to the comments down below. Shoot out questions, ideas you might want. Maybe you have a certain type of video you want me to do, like a collection video. I don't recommend it because it will take me a long time. I have a lot of miniatures and a lot of different things because I convert and make and still print, and I do a lot. Now, I will probably do one a little later about Demon Lords and on WizKids, whether we need these companies, but that I'll save for a later down the road video. Just a little precursor, a little sample, I guess, or you call it forewarned. Now, if any of the companies who have heard me mention them, such as like Wildspire Games, them want to ever get a hold of me and have me review their products, hey, reach out to me and let me know. I would love to help you guys get a little advertising and maybe get some products here to, you know, sink the old blade of opening into the box and open some lovely gold. Hopefully. Now, if you guys haven't known, we also do a podcast for the Dice and Dummies. Do check us out, guys. We live stream, like I said, every week, or we try to. Sometimes we don't, but, you know, I usually like to throw out on Twitter, or I'll throw out on YouTube. And if you guys did want to join my Discord for the Dracon's channel, it is a channel. You guys could join it. I would put it there, too, for the links to it. You know, whatever you guys want to do. Check out the Dice and Dummies. We have our seasons 1 and 2. Those were done before we live stream. Now we live stream. If you guys want to ever, or you've been a fan, and maybe you want to finally say, hey, I don't know, one of my buddies, Skyrill or Joel, what is your inspiration for this? And maybe he'll stop and go, hold on, this is a good question. Let me answer. We'll do that kind of stuff. We're cool that way. Anyway, guys, also, I did forget, it is also videoed, so you get to see us ourselves at the table with our lovely new table we made. We actually built ourselves a lovely double-layer hexagon table. Yeah, hexagon table. I thought I screwed that up because I was like, wait, yeah, it's 6 sides. Yeah. If I'm wrong on that, do say, or is it septagon? No. Yeah, I think it's hexagon. You know, you guys answer me in the thing. Help me out there. I sometimes get a little bit turned around in my brain. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. I thank you so much. Have a great one, guys, and see you next time. Bye-bye.